On the Super Tucano, the aircraft position is determined by a combined embedded global positioning, inertial reference system (EGI), and a radar altimeter. The inertial platform requires 4 minutes to align, but we have started this mission with the alignment already complete. On the real aircraft, the pilot inserts at mission start a data transfer cartridge, DTC, which contains the flight plan and the data for the current weapons load. This step is not fully simulated, as on the sim the DTC information is automatically transferred to the Flight Management System, FMS, after engine start, without player intervention. If the cockpit interior is too dark, activate the flashlight with left Alt plus L. If the yellow cross cursor is not visible, press left Alt plus left Shift plus C to make it appear. Also, you can press spacebar to cut short long texts, in case you are repeating the mission. The HUD is currently on its default declutter mode. As this mission is meant for the full HUD, let's change its format. On the UFCP, click on 1VV, the display will show the vertical velocity, VV, and velocity, altitude, and heading, VAH, options. The options allow for 3 different HUD formats. VAH, the HUD includes velocity, altitude, and heading scales, some people calls them ribbons. VV plus VAH, like VAH, but also shows the vertical velocity scale. Off, declutters the HUD by hiding all analog scales, leaving only digital values for speed, heading and altitude, no indication for vertical velocity. This is the default HUD mode at start. The asterisks denote which is the current HUD format, off. Flick the DCS down, to select VV plus VAH. Good, once you have VV plus VAH enclosed within asterisks, click on 0M cell, to accept the format change. Flick the DCS left, to return to the UFCP main page. Before proceeding with the mission, let's review the basic elements of the HUD, adjust the view and zoom so that you can clearly see the HUD. The highlighted cross represents where the physical nose of the aircraft is pointing. The highlighted symbol is the flight path marker, FPM, and represents the point where the aircraft is actually going. At this moment, the FPM is hard to see as it blends with the horizon line of the pitch ladder and a small X that shows up when the aircraft is stopped. On steady flight, the difference between the boresight cross and the FPM corresponds to the current angle of attack of the aircraft. Along the top of the HUD is the heading scale. The numbers just below it represent heading degrees, in tens, so that 27 represents 270 degrees. The vertical line over the middle of the scale represents your current heading. The highlighted caret is a cue generated by the FMS which indicates the heading you need to take in order to navigate towards the next waypoint of your route. Along the left side of the HUD is the velocity scale. The numbers to its left represent speed, in tens of knots, so 16 represents 160 nautical knots. The highlighted horizontal line on middle of the scale represents your current speed. Along the right side of the HUD is the altitude scale. The numbers just to its right represent altitude, in hundreds of feet. The highlighted horizontal line on the middle of the scale represents your current barometric altitude. To the left of the altitude scale is a smaller vertical scale. It represents your vertical velocity, using an arrowhead caret. If the caret is over the highlighted line, you are ascending, if it's below it, you are descending. When you have the landing gear extended, the HUD displays a curved roll scale on its bottom, to facilitate performing standard turns on landings. The horizontal lines on the center of the HUD represent a pitch ladder, where you can visualize your current pitch attitude. Each line is 5 degrees apart. Solid lines represent positive pitch, while dashed lines correspond to negative pitch. The 0-degree line is wider, and if you place the FPM marker on it, you will then be on level flight. This is a very important HUD element. The number to the right of the arrowhead sign is the identification number of the next waypoint in our route, 01. The number to its left is the remaining distance to reach it, in nautical miles. This is an estimated time to reach the next waypoint, in minutes and seconds. As we are currently stopped, its value is the maximum of 99 minutes 59 seconds. The number inside the box is the current radar altitude above the ground, in feet. It can only register up to a maximum of 5,000 feet. Above that altitude, you have to rely on the altitude scale, which shows barometric altitude. The R to its left is a reminder that this is a radar AGL altitude. The top highlighted value is the current G load on our aircraft. The bottom value is the maximum G load attained so far on this flight. The next value corresponds to the current air speed, expressed as a Mach number. The highlighted value is our current angle of attack, in degrees. For this mission, we will manually tune the COM-2 radio to 122.0 MHz, which is the VHF frequency of ATC at Krasnodar Center Air Base. First, on the UFCP press the COM-2 Quick Select button. The UFCP will then display the COM-2 radio setup page. The man field's current manual frequency should be already selected, enclosed by asterisks. Enter 122 and then press the Enter button. Press spacebar once the field contains 122.000 MHz. At this point, the radio is still on preset tuning mode, as denoted by the squares that enclose the label PRST. Press 0M cell while the cursor is still on the frequency field. To change the radio to manual tuning mode, do it now. The UFCP display will automatically return to its home page, where you can see that COM-2 is indeed tuned to 122.000 MHz. We are now ready to contact air traffic control. Make sure to bind the COM switch onto your HOTAS, or onto keyboard key combinations. Then press the binding corresponding to COM aft. To use the COM-2 radio, do it now. The DCS communications menu should have appeared. Now select F1, Request Taxi to Runway. Please note that ATC might take a while to answer if there is other traffic on the taxiways. Just wait and eventually you will be given clearance. Press spacebar once you hear the controller's answer.
Krasnodar, in field 1-1, request taxi to runway.
Take note of the runway assigned. For this mission the active runway should be runway 27. The diagram shows the taxi route you must follow. Before taxi. Auto rudder, right-click it, switch to its momentary ENGA position to enable the automatic rudder trim system. which compensates the propeller torque during takeoff. Taxi light switch, set to on. The nose gear taxi lights will illuminate. You will steer the aircraft using your rudder pedals. If your HOTAS setup does not include a rudder axis, you can also steer left or right using the Z and X keys. A DCS bug makes the rudder pedals overly sensitive at very low taxi speeds, so avoid making rudder inputs until the aircraft is over 3 knots of speed. For this mission, we will taxi towards runway 27 via Street E, which is in front of you. On the briefing, which you can view with left Alt+B, is a diagram of this airbase. Release the parking brake, advance throttle to around 85%, and let the aircraft slowly move forward. Once the aircraft is moving, press the wheel brakes, with your HOTAS or the W key, to confirm their operation. Release the wheel brakes and resume the taxi. Be careful of other traffic that may be near you. Good, now turn right and proceed along taxiway E, towards runway 27. This is taxiway E, proceed forward, towards the runway 27. Stop the aircraft just short of runway 27. We will now contact ATC for takeoff permission. Press the COM aft binding to use the COM2 radio to open the communications menu. Select F1, request takeoff. Once the tower grants permission, take note of the current QFE to calibrate our barometric altimeter. It should be 29.67 inches of mercury. Then, enter the runway, align with its center line and stop there. Takeoff final checks, verify that there are no warnings on the right MFD. Flaps. Extend the flaps down, by clicking on the highlighted lever or pressing F, as we are carrying underwing stores on this mission. Takeoff trim. Set a pitch trim of 0.2 nose up, to have a smoother takeoff. Calibrate barometric altimeter. ATC informed us earlier that the current QFE is 29.67 inches of mercury. Convert to hectopascals, by multiplying by 33.863, giving an equivalent QFE of 1005 hectopascals. Input that value using the highlighted knob. Taxi light switch, set to off. Landing light switch, set to on. This completes the takeoff checklist. We are now ready for takeoff. Follow the usual procedure, hold wheel brakes, increase throttle to 90% RPM, check instruments and alerts. If everything is well, release the brakes and accelerate to maximum RPM. Use nose wheel steering to maintain directional control and keep the aircraft on the runway's centerline. At 105 knots, pull back on the control stick to raise the nose to a takeoff attitude and allow the aircraft to fly itself off the ground. Lift off. We are now on the air, use trim to maintain a steady climb. Once on the air, retract the landing gear, with the G key or by clicking the gear handle. Retract the flaps before reaching 150 knots, using the highlighted lever, the HOTAS or the F key. You may now climb and accelerate to cruise speed. Your heading should be the one indicated by the highlighted caret, climb speed 160 knots. Adjust pitch trim to keep the highlighted flight path marker over the 10 degrees horizontal pitch line. Please honor the speeds instructed, in order to have enough time between waypoints to cover all of the lesson subjects. Level out once you reach an altitude of 12,000 feet above sea level. You have just passed 6,000 feet, keep climbing at 10 degrees nose up, until you reach 12,000 feet. You have reached 12,000 feet, now level out the aircraft and increase the speed to cruise at 200 knots. Use the trim buttons to attain a stable and level flight, so that we can study the navigation pages on the MFD. Unfortunately, the autopilot of the Super Tucano is still work in progress, so we won't. The small diamond shown on the HUD is a representation of the waypoint location on 3D space. Place the flight path marker over this diamond, in order to navigate towards it. Now that you are in stable and level flight, let's learn how to use the navigation pages of the MFD. We will use the right MFD, which currently is displaying the ICAS, engine indicating and crew alerting system page. Press the adjacent button of the already selected ICAS, that we've highlighted. This will take us to the MFD main menu. The bottom line of the MFD always show buttons for the most used pages, so you can go straight from one, say from ICAS, to the other, navigation, without going through this main menu. Now press the button beside Nav, the navigation page will show. The navigation page has several sub-pages. The current one is the aircraft page. You can tell this because AC is boxed. On this page you can see the current position, lat and lon, ground speed, GS, true air speed, TAS, main heading, track, and wind data, not simulated yet. Select FYT, fly to point, which on this aircraft means waypoint, by clicking on its adjacent button. Now we are on the waypoints page, which shows detailed data for each waypoint that is stored on the database of the Flight Management System, FMS. Currently the page shows data for the first waypoint, FT1, which includes its 3D coordinates, latitude, longitude and elevation. Note that the coordinates are in degrees and decimal minutes, not minutes and seconds. The TOFT is the planned time over waypoint. Also displayed is the data for any offset aiming point, OAP, associated with this waypoint. The OAPs are used during weapons delivery. The highlighted buttons allow you to browse the waypoint list, try them now. Note that there is an FT0, which corresponds to our origin airbase. The FT90 to FT99 corresponds to nearby airbases. Also, note that the HUD and the UFCP update when you select a new waypoint. In effect, the waypoint being shown on the FYT page is the active next waypoint for our navigation. Because of this, please, leave the page showing FT1, in order to not disrupt our navigation. Select now the route page, by clicking on the highlighted button. On the route page, you get a summary list of the waypoints that form our flight plan. Select now the Airfields page, AFLD, by clicking on the highlighted button. On the airfield page, you can see the list of nearby airbases. Unfortunately, the names of the airfields are highly abbreviated and the distance to each is not shown. Leave the MFD displaying the FYT page, and make sure that the selected FT is the one we are headed to. Good, keep flying towards waypoint 1. On the HUD, you can check the distance towards the waypoint and how long it will take us to arrive there. You have almost reached the waypoint 01, the FMS will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. When the heading caret moves to the left, turn the aircraft to the new queued heading. Earlier we saw how the HUD, the UFCP, and the navigation page of the MFD are linked to show waypoint navigation data. We will now review the UFCP more closely. Currently, the UFCP display is showing its main communications, navigation and information page, CNI. Its first line should begin with Auto 2, which means that our current waypoint is FT2, and that it will advance automatically to the next waypoint once the current one is reached. If somehow the UFCP is not displaying its CNI main page, click on the left side of the Data Control Switch, DCS. This position of the four-way switch is named Main, and should take you to the CNI main page. Beside the Auto 2 field, there is a symbol depicting an up-down arrow. This means that the field value can be sequentially increased or decreased using the Data Entry Display Increment-Decrement Rocker Switch, DED. Try it. Click on both sides of the rocker switch and see how the current waypoint changes accordingly. In order to not mess up our navigation, please leave it on Auto 2 when finished. So, that's how you can quickly change the current waypoint by using the UFCP. Later on this flight, we will see how you can also use the UFCP to add new waypoints to our flight plan. Now, keep flying towards Waypoint 2, maintaining level flight at 12,000 feet and a speed of 200 knots. You have almost reached the waypoint 02. Same as before, the FMS will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. When the heading caret moves to the left, turn the aircraft to the new queued heading. The FMS automatically selected waypoint 3 after we reached waypoint 2. Let's alter the sequence and skip waypoint 3, use what you have learned so far and employ the UFCP to select waypoint 4 instead, as our next waypoint. Hint, use the Data Entry Display, DED, Increment-Decrement Rocker Switch. Once the UFCP displays Auto 4, turn to the right and use the heading caret on the HUD to navigate towards waypoint 4. So far, whenever we reach a waypoint, we have let the FMS to automatically advance from one waypoint onto the next. This is not appropriate when a waypoint is a target or patrol point, so we will learn how to change from auto to manual, so that the current waypoint doesn't change when we reach it. First, click on DCS right to display the UFCP menu. Next, click on the digit 4 to choose Nav from the menu. Nav has two subpages. We are currently on the Nav mode subpage. If you click DCS right again, the display will change to the second page, Nav Miscellaneous, which is still work in progress. Click DCS right once again and you will be back at Nav mode. The Nav mode page allows us to change two navigation options. Waypoint Advance, which can be set to auto or manual, and Waypoint Time, which can be set to time to go, TTG, direct time, DT, or estimated time of arrival, ETA. The asterisk denote which is the currently selected option. You move the selection asterisks with DCS up or down clicks. Click down until the asterisks are at auto. Now that auto is the selected option, you can change its value with DCS right. Try it, the option now will be manual instead of auto. There is no need to press enter to save the selection, as the change is instantaneous. If it was unintended, just press DCS right again and the option will be back at auto. As this is just an exercise, leave it at auto, with DCS right. To finish, press DCS left to return to the CNI main page. Make sure that the display begins with Auto 04, rather than Man 04, in order to not disrupt this mission's navigation. Good, now keep flying towards Waypoint 4, maintaining 12,000 feet and 200 knots. You have almost reached the waypoint 04. The FMS will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. Turn the aircraft to the new heading indicated by the heading caret. Note that waypoint 5 is at a lower altitude, 3,000 feet rather than the 12,000 we have been maintaining so far. Initiate a shallow descent, by placing the FPM over the waypoint diamond. We can use the UFCP to add additional waypoints to our flight plan. Waypoints can only be added at the end of the current ones, so if our flight plan includes waypoints 00 through 06, then we can insert new waypoints only starting at 07. As an exercise, let's add a waypoint set at the town of Anapskaya. Its coordinates are 44 degrees 54.15 minutes north, and 37 degrees 21.96 minutes east. Note that the UFCP uses decimal minutes, rather than minutes and seconds. To begin, just press the 4WIPT key on the keypad, to display the waypoints page of the UFCP. By default, this page is on FYT mode, but new waypoints can only be added on WPT mode. To change modes, select the waypoint number by flicking the DCS switch up or down, and then flick the DCS to the right. The mode will change as denoted by the text prefixing the waypoint number. Press spacebar once the UFCP page is on WP mode. The UFCP display will show detailed data for each waypoint, beginning with WP00, waypoint 0. The up-down arrow symbol next to the waypoint means we can now use the rocker DD switch to browse the waypoints list. As you browse the waypoint list, you will note that WP07 is available, as all its data is filled with X's. We will use this waypoint position to enter the data of our new waypoint, effectively turning WP07 part of our flight plan. Make sure that WP07 is displayed on the UFCP display, then flick DCS down to move the asterisks onto the first field, latitude. Press spacebar once the asterisks are on the latitude field. We will now enter the latitude, 44 degrees, 54.15 minutes north. Use the UFCP numeric keypad to input 4, 4, 5, 4, 1, and 5. Note that the system automatically knows this is a north latitude, according to our current location. If you make a mistake, press the CLR button and start again. Once you have entered the value, the latitude will be automatically accepted and the asterisks will advance to the next field. Press spacebar once the asterisks are on the longitude field. The longitude is entered on the same way, but beware that the degrees must be 3 digits long, so leading zeros may be needed. Click on 0, 3, 7, 2, 1, 9, and 6. If you make a mistake, press the CLR key and start again. As before, the system will automatically recognize it as an east coordinate. Once you have entered the value, the longitude will be accepted and the asterisks will advance to the next field. Press spacebar once the asterisks are on the elevation field. For this new waypoint, we will use its ground elevation, which is 246 feet. Click on 2, 4, and 6. No leading zeros are needed on this case. Press the Enter key to have the system accept the value and add the new waypoint to the FMS database. The elevation will be accepted and the asterisks will advance to the next field. Press spacebar once the asterisks are on the Toft field. You can now input a desired time to reach the waypoint. TOFT means time over FT. For this example, we will leave it at 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Press the Enter key to have the system accept the field value. Good, this completes the creation of the new waypoint 07. As a check, let's confirm by reviewing our flight plan. On the right MFD select the navigation page. Now, select the route subpage, our flight route will appear. The flight plan should now include this new waypoint 07 at the end of the list. To finish the procedure, on the UFCP press DCS left to return to its CNI main page. Note that the new waypoint has not been made current. We are still navigating towards our previous waypoint. Good, now continue descending towards waypoint 5. Remember to keep the flight path marker over the waypoint diamond. You have almost reached the waypoint 05. Same as before, the FMS will automatically advance onto the next waypoint. When the heading caret moves to the left, turn the aircraft to the new queued heading. The audio tones that you are hearing means that your aircraft is overflying the marker beacons that are used during landing approaches. The low frequency beeps corresponds to the outer beacon, while the higher frequency beeps occur when overflying the inner beacon. Ignore them for now. Congratulations, you have successfully arrived to your destination. On the next mission we will learn how to do a brake circuit and visual landing, in order to land here. See you then.